Every day, we get the same text messages, emails, and even comments on our YouTube channel asking all the same questions about moving to the Denver area. And a lot of these questions aren't necessarily answered in our normal style formatted videos. So we wanted to make a video today where we were going over our top frequently asked questions that we get from viewers just like you who are considering relocating to Denver and the surrounding areas. So stick around to the end of this video because I guarantee all of these questions have entered your mind at least one time. And today you're going to get the real locals perspective, and we're going to give our honest and unfiltered answers. And just to give you guys some perspective, Will is a native to Colorado. He was born and raised here, and I have been here about 25 years. So I consider myself an honorary native. We aren't coming at this from, someone's perspective. We've just lived here for a couple years. Both of us have been here a very, very long time, more time than I care to admit. So these are going to definitely be my own opinion, but also the opinion of a lot of our clients that we've helped move here. All right, so the first question is Denver actually affordable? Now, this is where you're going to get a ton of different perspectives. If you talk to someone that has lived here their whole time and maybe they've been in the same house the whole time, yes, they're going to be complaining about how expensive it is to live here. If you're coming from somewhere in the Midwest, then it might feel a little bit more expensive to you. But this is all about perspective because we have so many clients that are moving here from California, Chicago, New York, Texas, and depending on where you're coming from there, it can feel like a lot more affordable. For example, if you're coming from Texas, you'll typically find lower priced housing out in Texas. However, your property taxes are way more expensive than ours. So people that are coming from Texas, yes, I would plan on spending more for a home, but you're going to save a ton on property taxes. If you're coming from someplace like California or New York, you're oftentimes getting way more bang for your buck in terms of housing goes, and you're saving a lot on property taxes as well. So this isn't just a one size fits all answer. It really depends on where you're coming from and what you're used to. Now, one thing worth noting is that from our total state's cost of living perspective, we are about 30% higher than the national average. Now, that 30% is pretty much coming from housing. When you're looking at all the other day-to-day expenses like utilities, cell phone, internet, things like that, those are pretty on par with national averages. But you do see the spike when it comes to housing costs. So just be ready for that. And I think Colorado is fairly affordable for everything that it has to offer. The mountains, the outdoor lifestyle, the international airports that are here, the central proximity in the US where you've got quick travel to the West Coast, fairly quick travel to the East Coast. Colorado has so many things to offer. I think all things considered, it is affordable, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's affordable. I would say I feel like it's a good deal. For what you're paying to live out here, I feel like the state gives back to you equally. Now, one thing you do want to take into consideration is the lifestyle cost of being out here. So if you're going to go skiing frequently, that's not cheap, right? Ski lift passes are expensive. The gear is expensive. Same with hiking and mountain biking or kayaking or just any of that Colorado stuff that you get into. Also, there's a lot of free things to do out here. It doesn't cost money just to go hike, right? You'll need to pay for your hiking boots and all that stuff if you want to go that far, but there's so many free things that the state does have to offer. I don't want to scare you guys off with that, but if you're going to come out here and make the most out of the state, it is a consideration. Next up, what's the deal with altitude and weather? The altitude is a very real thing. Now, just with Denver, you are literally at 5,280 feet above sea level, the Mile High City. When you take that into consideration, you are going to feel it potentially the first couple weeks that you're in town. They do say that after about 90 days, your body is fully acclimated. But if you're just coming out here to visit, or if you're coming out here and you're planning on doing some activities like skiing, snowboarding, or hiking, the number one thing you'll just want to plan for is to get some good sleep. Don't do those things when you're exhausted, and drink plenty of water. Drink plenty of water and then drink a little bit more water. Hydration is essential. You guys might feel like maybe you get some headaches or a little lightheaded. If we're out looking at homes together and we're in the basement and you walk up the basement flight of stairs and then we walk up the second flight of stairs to go up to like the bedrooms on the top floor of our house, you're going to be a little bit out of breath. I still get out of breath when I'm doing that, but that's probably just because my cardio isn't where it should be. I'm definitely acclimated to the altitude by now, but it is a very real thing. So just make sure you get your rest, make sure you drink plenty of water. And part of the Colorado culture is I'm not leaving my house without a bottle of water. I've got it right here. I take it everywhere with me. So,
babe, I got a new Nalgene bottle.
First things first.
Oh, yes, that is clean.
That is an essential, and depending on where you're coming from, especially some of these humid states, you're probably not going to shed water as fast as you will with altitude, so definitely something to take into consideration there. Now, as far as the weather, this is one of the main reasons we see people moving to Colorado. We do have 4 seasons here. 4 true seasons, and you're going to feel every single one of them. Now, the other thing with Colorado weather is that we have sunshine all year long. So we do have a real winter. It does get cold in Colorado, especially from about December through March. January, February, March, those are really cold months. That's when I consider that's the real winter. We will also have very short days, especially once we take daylight savings into account. It will, in the middle of winter, start getting dark around 4:30 or 5 o'clock. That just adds to sort of the coldness of everything. But during the daytime, we have sun all year long. Even when it's 30 degrees outside, that sun comes out, it feels a lot hotter than that. So the key to surviving Colorado weather is to wear layers and bring jackets with you that you can take off and put on all throughout the day. Typically, if I'm heading to the gym first thing in the morning, it's dark outside, I'm wearing a full-on jacket. Afterwards, I'm going to show homes. I might just be in a t-shirt or maybe a long sleeve flannel during the daytime and no jacket. But then once that sun does start going down, and like I said, it goes down pretty early during daylight savings times, that jacket is coming back on. So you're always going to have hoodies and jackets and everything like that in the car, so you are ready to go and prepared for everything. But guys, our springtime is typically very rainy. We do get a good amount of hail during springtime, so be prepared for that and always have somewhere to kind of park your car in emergency if needed. The summer times do get actually hot. We'll have probably about, I would say 6 to 8 weeks where we're consistently in the high 90s to maybe low 100s. So it does feel like we have a real summer, but we don't have the humidity out here. So it is very dry. A 95-degree day in Denver is going to feel very different than a 95-degree day in Texas. As far as fall time, that is the most beautiful time of year. Unfortunately, it is a pretty short season, but Colorado by far is the most beautiful in the fall time. And then our winters, you will have a real winter here, but honestly, I feel like just when I'm starting to get a little bit tired of the cold, springtime is right around the corner. So there truly is a little bit of something for everybody here in Colorado, which makes it a great middle ground for people that do like snow, but maybe don't like a crazy dark, dreary winter like you're gonna see in a lot of Midwest places or East Coast places. We do get a real summer here, but without the humidity, so it is very, very tolerable. And honestly, you and the kids and whoever, you're utilizing the outdoors all year long. All right, I want to interrupt here real quick to remind you guys of our Living in Denver home search app. Now, this is an app you can find in the Apple or Android app store. If you just go search Living in Denver, you can download our app, and we had this app designed to mimic Zillow. So the same buttons you used to clicking on Zillow, you'll be able to click within hours, but this is a great way for you to connect with us. You can leave notes on homes, and this is the quickest, fastest, most updated app out there because it ties directly to our local Colorado MLS. So download the app today, and let's move on to our next question. The next question we get is people saying, hey guys, honestly, how bad is the traffic out there? What I want to do with this question is I want to break this into 2 different types of traffic. The first type of traffic is going to be your daily commute traffic that you're going to be facing on a day-to-day basis as you're going to and from work. The second kind of traffic is going to be I-70 mountain traffic. Those fall into 2 very different buckets. So let's start off with the daily commute. Now, overall, for as big as Denver is, I feel like our traffic is very, very tolerable. A lot of the people that have been here their whole lives, they may complain and they're going to leave comments on this video particularly. I know it, saying, no, traffic is terrible. No one else move here. You always get those people leaving those comments. But the reality is, if you've lived in a big city with real traffic, you're going to think Colorado traffic is a joke. Now, part of the reason that I think our traffic is so tolerable is really how spread out the state is. You know, you've got Denver that sits right in the middle, and then all of our suburban areas are in roughly a 45-minute radius around the city of Denver. So that means that there's not one concentrated location that people are coming to and from Denver. If Denver is at the center, you're getting people going to work that are coming from the north, that are coming from the east, the west, the south. And what that does is that's going to kind of dilute the traffic as far as the highways are concerned. If you just had Denver that sat on the very north and all the cities were on the south side and everybody was down south trying to get up north, yes, it's going to be very, very congested. But with Denver sitting right in the middle, it kind of dilutes the traffic amongst all our different highways. highways. Now, don't get me wrong, I-70 traffic, that's our major highway that runs east and west, that is going to get congested during rush hour. You've got I-25, that's our primary north-south highway. That is going to get congested during rush hour. But very rarely are you just sitting in completely gridlocked traffic at a standstill. The only time that happens is if there's an accident or something like that. Yes, it can get bound up as any place will with an accident. But for the most part, guys, our traffic tends to keep moving steadily, right? We looked this up, and I-70 traffic during rush hour is still an average of 36 miles per hour, which is not bad. And those of you guys that are living in LA and Chicago, like that is going to sound like you're speeding down the highway at that point. And honestly, guys, it is not as bad as a lot of the locals may make it seem. Now, if you're coming from a Midwest town with absolutely no traffic and no big cities, sure, you're going to feel some congestion. But on a day-to-day trek, guys, it is very tolerable. Now, let's dive into traffic number 2, I-70 mountain traffic. This traffic is as bad as you can imagine traffic. So during ski season, people tend to go up on Fridays, and maybe it's like midday Friday, even in the morning on Fridays. So if you're heading to the mountains on a Friday afternoon, yes, you can jump on I-70 and you can sit in traffic for literally hours. It's going to take you probably 2 to 3 times as long to get to whatever ski resort you're trying to go to without traffic. Sometimes you can sit in traffic for 45 minutes and barely move 10 feet. That traffic is very, very real. I don't want to sugarcoat that. So that means if you're going to a ski trip weekend, try and get out of town on a Thursday, if at all possible, and come back either on a Saturday or a Monday. The one thing I would avoid is coming back down the mountain on a Sunday afternoon. That's when everybody is trying to do the same thing, and you're going to be in the same situation you were heading up as you are coming down. Except coming down, the trip's over, you're exhausted, you're tired, you just want to be at home, your legs are wobbly at this point, and the last thing you want to do is sit in the traffic after skiing all day for 6 hours just to get from a ski resort that's 2 hours away. So definitely try and game the system a bit based on going up a little bit early, going up to the mountains a little bit earlier than everybody else, or coming down from the mountains a little bit later than everybody else. All right, next question. Do I need to get a 4x4 vehicle or a 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicle if I move to Denver? The short answer is no. Not right away, at least. However, you are going to want to have an all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive vehicle as soon as you can when you move here. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard us talk a lot about our snow and how it does melt away pretty quickly after a snowstorm, usually within just a day or two. But at the same time, you guys don't necessarily want to be stuck at home because you just have a 2-wheel drive vehicle. And even just a small amount of snow on the road, if it is sticking and it is accumulating, or maybe it's getting a little bit icy, 2-wheel drive vehicles are not easy to drive in the snow. I don't recommend it. So if you're coming here with a 2-wheel drive vehicle, that's more than good. Just don't plan on driving in the snow really at all. And then once you're here and you're settled, plan on upgrading to an all-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive vehicle, because it's one of those things. I don't like driving in the snow the most, but it's nice knowing that, hey, if I do have to head out, that I'm going to have no problem. I'm not going to get stuck at a stoplight or slide out of my driveway into a ditch or anything like that. So the peace of mind that comes along with owning one of those vehicles is going to help you out tremendously. So to recap, you don't need one right away, but definitely plan on getting one as soon as you can. Now, the next question, this one comes up more often than you think, and that is, what's the situation with the marijuana in Colorado? Is it everywhere? Am I going to smell it all the time? Are people going to be selling it to my kids on the street? What does that look like? We used to get this question a lot more, but now that it is legal in many more states, we definitely get it less, but still places like Florida and Texas, it's not legalized out there, at least for recreational use. That's one of the questions that we often get. Now, to summarize it, how it's treated in Colorado is it's basically treated like alcohol. So there are very tight regulations around it. You can't use it in public, just like you can't have your bottle of Jack Daniels in public. You can't be smoking out in public. You're not allowed to smoke it while driving. Think of it just the same as alcohol. And what I would say is, for the most part, people are also respecting it as such. If you're downtown, yes, you might get a whiff of it here and there. If you're at a concert, you'll definitely get whiffs of it, kind of all over the place. But really, there's no place in Colorado or even Denver where you just constantly smell weed all the time. Dispensaries out here are very highly regulated. A lot of them are very, very high end. They're very professional. They take, their licensing and everything very seriously. And a lot of them feel more like high end retail stores than these sort of like hole in the wall places where you're doing something illegal, right? So take that into consideration. But with us living in the suburbs, I pretty much never encounter it. I never smell it. It's never really around. There's plenty of it if that's what you want to go do. But at the same time, you're not just going to find it impacting your day-to-day life. So if that is one of your concerns, I would put your concern at ease, because to experience it, you really got to go looking for it. If you're not going and looking for it, you really just won't encounter it. One of the next questions that we get here is Denver or Colorado a good place to raise a family? The majority of you guys that are moving out here, those of you guys that have families, you're always prioritizing school districts. And I think this gives us a very easy answer to that question, is looking at the Colorado school districts as a whole. Now, the whole Denver metro area, almost whole Denver metro area, with the exception of maybe just the county of Denver itself, have very high school ratings. You know, if you're looking at school districts like Douglas County, Cherry Creek School District, Littleton, Boulder, Jefferson County, all of those are pretty much the main school districts that are going to make up the heart of the entire metro area. Again, that 45-minute radius around Denver. And all of those are going to typically be in the top 5 best school districts in all of Colorado. So with that being said, from a school standpoint alone, yes, it is a very good place to raise a family. Once you take that and then you couple in all of the outdoor activities that there are, all the school sports programs, and the master plan communities that we have out here, it makes it a very easy decision that Colorado is a very family-friendly place. And also, when you're speaking of those master plan communities, one of the reasons that we find so many people wanting to move into those is that it's also a very great way to make friends as an adult. When you're moving into a new community, there's a lot of new people also there. And when you're taking the kids to the pool in the summer, or you're utilizing the arcade at the clubhouse, or whatever it may be, that's one of the best places to meet your neighbors. And frequently you will see people that are getting together for 4th of July barbecues, Labor Day parties, and things like that. So Colorado is one of those places that is a work hard, play hard state. You know, I would say people in Colorado work real hard Monday through Thursday, but then Friday through Sunday, everyone is hanging out with their neighbors. They're going out to social events. They're going to the Denver Zoo. They're going golfing together. And again, all of this is happening year round because, again, we just don't have these extreme seasons. So we know a lot of people that came from Texas and like, man, we just can't go outside for like half the year. We've got people coming from Minnesota or Michigan or New York that are like, man, we just can't leave at all during the winter because it's so dang cold outside. Colorado, you're going to be utilizing every 4 season, and there's anything and everything that you can possibly think to do out here. So in summary, yes, this is a great place to raise a family. So that leaves the question, is moving to Denver worth it? Short answer, in my humble opinion, I think it is a definite yes. Now, depending on where you're coming from, there are always going to be trade-offs, right? If you're coming from California, yes, you're giving up the water, but you're getting 4 seasons, you're getting mountains, you're getting affordability, right? There's always going to be these trade-offs regardless of where you're coming from, but all things considered, with all of the pros that Colorado has to offer, there are honestly very few cons. And this isn't just my opinion. This is the hundreds of people that we've helped move here and the feedback that we consistently get from them. And I love checking in with our clients a few months after they've been here to really get their perspective on what it's like. And, you know, so far, all I hear are really, really great things. Raves about the schools that their kids are going to, their neighbors that they've been able to meet, how many things there are to do, all the fun Colorado things that they're doing. One of the things actually that is hilarious to me is with our clients, we'll inevitably, you know, start following each other on social media, or we'll become Instagram friends. And it's so funny because in the first few months of clients living here, I'll see their Instagram posts, their stories, things like that. You guys are doing more Colorado stuff in the first 90 days of you guys living here than I've done in the 25 years that I've lived here, which is great. That's exactly how it should be. Nothing makes me happier than seeing clients move here from a different state and take full advantage of everything that Colorado has to offer. So I hope you guys like this video. And if you'd like a more detailed guide on what it's like to relocate here, we've put together our Colorado relocation guide. And if you click the link in the description below, you can download that guide and find out a ton more information in addition to what we talked about today. So thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next week.